Yeah, there comes a time in every van build where you're going to have to poke holes in the walls and in the ceiling to put in things like fans, windows, and air conditioners. What gives me the shakes is realizing that you could potentially total your van using just this. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today we're tackling one of the most important parts of this conversion, and that is installing the windows and the bed frame. But first, I've got to deal with these panel braces that are tack welded along the wall here. As you can see, they're pretty securely attached with little spot welds, but they've got to come off to make room for the holes in the windows. I'm starting with the old-fashioned approach with a chisel and hammer. Now I put this chisel right at the edge of the weld and working an angle here, just getting underneath that tack weld. The key is patience. Don't try to force it all at once or you'll damage the wall panel. I can feel it starting to give way, but it's pretty labor intensive and I got 2 more of these to go. I'm going to switch to my drill here with a metal cutting bit. What I'm doing is drilling right through the tack weld itself, and that breaks the connection without putting stress on the surrounding metal. Much faster, wouldn't you say, or actually cleaner too. You can see how the weld just separates when you drill through it. The drill method is definitely the way to go here. I'm working my way down the wall, hitting each one of the tack welds and drilling it out.
That one is loose.
Now, I can use a flat-headed screwdriver or even my fingers to pry this brace away from the wall. You want to be gentle here. Now, the goal is to remove the brace without damaging the wall panel underneath. And here it comes. Perfect. Look at that. Nice, clean, removable with no damage to the wall.
Nice.
We'll just set this aside and start on the others.
Beautiful.
Now the rhythm is to drill through the tack weld, pry with a screwdriver, move on to the next one.
You'll have to do that 3 more times, right? See your trophy. Let's see your trophy.
You know, when we first started this project, we thought those braces were going to be a real pain to remove, but once you get the technique down, it's pretty straightforward. It takes a little bit of patience and the right tools. Now, let's move on to the main event, mounting this bed frame. I've got all my materials laid out here, the mounting boards, the support brackets, and all the hardware. This is a platform bed design and it's going to be incredibly sturdy when we're done. First, we're going to assemble the main support structure. That involves putting a large 2x6 in the back, which we stained dark color, just so it didn't stick out as raw wood. And we drill holes through it, but then we go and countersink larger size so that the head of the bolt doesn't hold the board away from the wall.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5.
Now we want to make sure everything is level and square because any mistakes here will compound as I build up to it. I'm using a level to make sure the first board is perfectly horizontal. The bed needs to be comfortable to sleep on, which means I can't have any twist or sag in it. Using the drill bit, I'm just marking the points here because I want to be precise when I secure everything down. Now it's time to drill the holes. I'm using a drill bit that's sized for the bolts, but slightly larger.
Right.
And you want a nice snug fit, but not so
on this side,
tight that you can't get the board over it. But you also want to have that countersunk hole to cover up the nuts that are holding it out from the wall.
How far away from this bolt is to the next one?
This gives us a much cleaner look and prevents any snags.
Wait.
Now drilling with countersink bit would have been the way to go, but the only thing I had here was a paddle bit. So I just guessed at it and went to each one of the holes and countersunk it that way.
Oh, that's right. You made,
No on the
that's
side.
that is right. You did a biggie. Yeah.
Now we screwed the rack holder on the back, and then we put each one of the hangers along the back, allowing for each one of the 7 boards. Each one of the boards got measured for each one of the slots because there was going to be an imperfection in the way that the van is built, and they're going to be either shorter or longer.
Perfectly. Quite hold that up. Hold down without bloodshed. Beautiful.
Now we reached the part of the build that really had me worried, and that was poking holes in the skin. We decided we're going to go ahead and start with the air conditioner first and get that out of the way, even though we weren't going to be able to put the air conditioner up there quite yet. We're going to go ahead and cut the hole for this, and it's got to be 14 inches and 3/8 square. We laid down blue painter's tape so that we didn't scratch the paint as we went around it, which ended up being a pretty good idea because those places where the tape wasn't put did scrape the paint. We decided we'd go ahead and clean up all of the metal shavings later on because they were going to go everywhere anyway, so it didn't really matter. There we go. Once we primered the inside of that, it's time to start on the next hole. I would like to point out,
Nice.
I thought I was doing this correctly and that I was going to measure the outside of the hole. This is where I almost screwed up the whole job. It should have not been to the inside of this or to the outside, but to the middle of it. Fortunately, we caught the mistake at the very last minute and cut the holes in the right place. Could have been a disaster. It would have leaked, or we would have had to get a larger window, which I'm not sure we could have found one that would have fit in the side. So I was actually correct to be worried about this. We're going to go ahead and drill the pilot holes so that we can get the jigsaw in there and start working around the corner without breaking the blade off.
Holes to start with.
You can tell by all the scuffs on the inside here that they used to haul air conditioners around in its previous life. All the dents that are in the vehicle seem to be on the inside going out. It's from the bouncing around equipment that they had when this was working. We managed to get through this whole job with only one blade. We didn't break a single one. I'm amazed. We were prepared just in case. We had had these windows for quite some time before we ever got around to installing them. I'm certainly glad we finally got to it because it makes it look so much better on the outside, so much closer to finished. This way we can do the framing and get all the wiring and everything and then start putting up the walls. This was the last side I was able to do from the inside. The other required finishing up from the outside. Just simply because the inside framework was too close to the cut. Note all the sticky residue that's still over all the outside of here. That's where the original logo was for the company we bought this from. That's it. The hole is now officially cut in.
Nice.
And it's time for primering.
Yeah. It's a window.
The inside seal for this is fairly easy to put on once you take it just a few inches at a time and work your way around it. And here is the finished window. That's one down at least. Now I had to move all the wires out of the way so that I could cut in for the other windows. These are the cables that are coming down from the solar panels above. And once they're moved up and around, we can go ahead and put the hole in for the window. And here we go. Trying to be very careful, a lot more careful, by the way, than I was with the first one. I'm going to make my way around this one, and I only have to do it twice, one on each side. This will be at the head and at the foot of the bed. Turned out it was a very good thing we put that blue tape down, because this was scraping the paint underneath it everywhere it was exposed. You can see the scratches over there on the behind my head there. Inside view of the same cutting. We're coming to the end of the line here. I'd like to point out, neatness does not really count too much, considering the fact all of this is going to be covered up by a flange. But I am attempting to square it off and make it straight.
What you doing?
Getting all of the original logo off, cleaning the surface so we can get a good seal.
All right. It's a nice.
Messy little girl. All right, now it's time to cut in the hole for the vent fan. We have a Maxxair vent fan we're putting in the back. This one, I was not fortunate enough to have a flat surface to seal it to. We had to build up with butyl tape in all the ridges so that it'd lay flat. Same will go for the gland entry for the solar panels, neither one of which is going to lay flat without a bunch of buildup to it. And here comes the end of this cut. This was exactly 14 3/8 by 14 3/8. Same as the air conditioner. Test fitting of the flange goes well. That's time to seal it in.
Yes? Yay! Look at that!
Now it's time to file the edges and primer the bare metal.
Okay.
Down with a die core to make a good watertight seal. And a quick press down into the metal.
Okay.
What you need? Okay.
The self-tapping screws will go in through these holes, and they'll get covered up with die core also. I decided I needed to find out if the fan worked electrically, so once it was already up and installed, I'm waiting for it to dry. I'm going to go ahead and apply some power to it by just running a couple of temporary wires from the fan straight to the battery. It's all remote control, so we can check the speeds and so forth. Make sure before we go and put all the cables in the ceiling and down the wall. And there she goes.
Awesome! Woo! Look at that! Oh my! Chuck, you're good.
Thank you. See the remote now.
We'll check all the speeds. Then we'll just pull the wires loose and put in the permanent ones later. There's the finished window. Now for the final piece of this assembly, the joist hangers. These are going to support the actual bed platform. I'm going to show you the finished version here, where we clip them into the mounting plates and then actually put the mattress on top. That way we could measure where the windows are actually supposed to come out. We ended up not centering the windows on here because it would have required removing yet another one of the braces from the side, and that was just way too much side panel that was unsupported. So we've got them slightly off center, but the OCD part of me, I think, can live with it. Now these joist hangers are rated for more weight than this bed will ever see, so we're building this thing to last. This mattress is not really so hard to get in there, not compared to the last one we had in the ambulance. That one felt like a couple of 100 pounds. This one was awkward, but fit in nicely and fits exactly the way that we want it, in between the windows. And look at the space I've got for a garage here. I love this part of the build. This is where all the electrical adjustments and wiring will be. We'll put our IceCo refrigerator in here and hook up our water pumps. The finished product. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope you'll be back soon.